Caution, listener. This journey takes us where humanity's darkest shadows live, and survival is only in the telling. On a humid evening in Chilliwater, Florida, January 24th, 2019, Grant Amato, a 29-year-old former nurse, sat in his childhood bedroom, the glow of his laptop screen lighting his face. Born May 20th, 1989, Grant grew up in a close-knit family with his parents, Chad, 59, a clinical pharmacist, and Margaret, 61, a senior operations manager, and his brother Cody, 31, a nurse anesthetist. Their home on Sultan Circle was a typical suburban house, filled with sports trophies and family photos from Grant and Cody's days at Timber Creek High School, where they lifted weights together. Grant and Cody, less than 2 years apart, were tight, both attending the University of Central Florida for nursing. But while Cody thrived, graduating as a nurse anesthetist, Grant's life unraveled. Fired from Advent Orlando in June 2018 for stealing propofol, a powerful anesthetic, and improperly giving medicine to patients, Grant spiraled into depression. Jobless, he retreated to the internet, spending hours gaming and watching porn, his savings dwindling. By July 2018, Grant discovered Sylvia Venceslavova, a 27-year-old Bulgarian cam model, known as Sylvie or Adazweet online. Her dark hair and sultry performances captivated him, and he believed they shared a real connection. Calling her his buoy in the ocean, Grant showered her with money, $200,000 stolen from his family's accounts, including credit cards and a fraudulent $65,000 mortgage plus $60,000 from his brother Jason, a half-brother who lived separately. He sent Sylvie sex toys, lingerie, and lavish tips, claiming it was to promote his Twitch gaming channel. But really, he was obsessed, spending $700 a day on her live streams. Chad and Margaret, worried, confronted him in November 2018, finding their bank accounts drained. They sent him to a South Florida rehab for porn and internet addiction in December. But after a week, Grant returned home, defiant, still messaging Sylvie. On January 21st, 2019, Chad gave him an ultimatum. Stop contacting Sylvie, get a job, surrender his guns, and attend therapy, or leave. Grant, enraged, was kicked out on January 23rd, his belongings stuffed in his 1996 Honda Accord. The next night, January 24th, Grant returned to the house around 8:00 p.m., sneaking in through the garage, the door left unlocked. He carried a stolen Edicto 941 handgun, taken from his friend Blake Turpin's bedroom 2 weeks earlier when left alone for 10 minutes. Chad was in his home office, working late, his back to the door. Grant crept up, heart pounding, and fired a single 9mm bullet into the back of Chad's head, blood spraying across the desk, his body slumping forward, glasses falling, the shot echoing at 8:30 p.m., as neighbor Jennifer Sawyer later reported. Margaret was in the kitchen, likely cleaning up, when Grant moved in, his face cold. He shot her once in the head, the bullet tearing through her skull, blood pooling on the tile as she collapsed, her hands still damp from dishwater. Cody, just home from work, walked in from the garage, his backpack on. Grant ambushed him in the storage room, firing twice, one bullet to the head, one to the chest, blood splattering the walls. Cody curling into a fetal position, his body crumpling, lifeless. Grant, methodical, staged the scene as a murder-suicide, placing Cody's holstered gun backward on Chad's hip, blood spatter underneath, proving it was added post-mortem. He used Chad's finger to unlock his phone, sending $600 to Sylvie at 9:15 p.m., then wiped Cody's iPhone, deleting 2 calls from Chad's phone to hide his tracks. Grant fled, driving to a DoubleTree hotel in Orlando, 20 miles away, where he logged into Sylvie's stream from the hotel Wi-Fi, chatting as if nothing happened. The next morning, January 25th, Cody's coworker, Chris Sisko, alarmed by Cody's absence, he was always reliable, called police for a welfare check. Seminole County deputies arrived at 9:17 a.m., finding no response, all doors locked. They entered, the air heavy with death. Chad lay on his back in the office, blood dried around his head, a bullet hole in his skull. Margaret was sprawled over the kitchen counter, her face unrecognizable, blood dripping to the floor. Cody was curled in the storage room, 2 gunshot wounds, his backpack beside him, blood soaking his scrubs. No signs of a break-in, but Cody's phone and the murder weapon were gone, along with Grant. A bloody backpack in the garage held traces of Chad's blood, and black gloves found nearby had Grant's DNA and gunshot residue, tying him to the scene. Deputies tracked Grant's Honda to the DoubleTree by 7:45 a.m. On January 26th, arresting him after a 24-hour manhunt. In interrogation, Grant, calm and detached, claimed he was at a job interview when the shots were heard, but neighbors' timelines at his hotel check-in at 10:00 p.m. debunked his story. His half-brother Jason, 38, pleaded with him to confess, saying, "Tell the truth, Grant." But Grant stayed silent, his eyes empty. Jason, the only surviving family member, later testified, "Voice-breaking, Chad, Margaret, and Cody were amazing people. I miss talking to my mom." Surveillance footage showed Grant buying ammo and cleaning supplies days earlier at a Bass Pro Shop, his cart filled with 9mm bullets and bleach. Digital forensics revealed he used Margaret's laptop post-murder, accessing Sylvie's site, and deleted calls from Chad's phone. The Edward Jericho 941, never found, was linked to bullets at the scene, distinct from the 3 guns in the house, which didn't match the shell casing. The trial, starting July 23, 2019, in Seminole County, was a media storm, covered by Court TV and the Orlando Sentinel. Prosecutors, led by Stuart Stone, painted Grant as a cold-blooded killer driven by obsession, stealing $200,000 to fund a fantasy with Sylvie, who never met him. They showed 600 photos and videos of Sylvie from Grant's devices, his messages calling her "my love," though she was in Bulgaria, unaware of his crimes. Assistant State Attorney Dominic Leo said Sylvie was all that mattered, arguing Grant killed to eliminate obstacles, his family's rules. Jason's testimony was damning, detailing Grant's theft and lies, his voice thick with grief. Blake Turpin testified about the missing gun, though defense attorney Jeff Dowdy called it convenient, accusing Blake of fabricating evidence. Crime scene analyst Eric Brothers found Grant's DNA on the gloves, and forensic investigator Daniel Anderson showed deleted calls and wiped data, proving Grant's cover-up. The defense argued no direct evidence tied Grant to the murders. claiming police ignored other suspects and mishandled the scene, citing untested marijuana and grow equipment in the house. But the jury, after 8 hours on July 31st, 2019, convicted Grant of 3 counts of first-degree murder, rejecting the death penalty on August 12, sentencing him to life without parole at Tomoka Correctional Institution in Daytona Beach. The explicit horror stunned Chuluota. Chad's skull was Margaret's head wound left her face a bloody mess, her body slumped, hands curled, blood pooling under her. Cotty, shot twice, lay curled defensively, blood soaking his scrubs, his face frozen in shock, the storage room walls streaked red. The community, a tight-knit suburb, reeled. Neighbors left flowers at the Amato home, unable to grasp how a nurse, once a weightlifter with dreams, killed his family. The C. Terrell Holt Desire docuseries premiered April 16, 2024 on Paramount, detailed Grant's obsession with director Colin Archdeacon using prison calls to show his lack of remorse. Grant saying, "My family blamed me for ruining their lives." Grant saying, "My family blamed me for ruining their lives, so I might as well be blamed for this too." In 2025, Grant was linked to a murder-for-hire plot with Victoria Goodwin, wife of Ghost Adventures star Aaron Goodwin, via smuggled phone texts, planning to kill her husband for $11,515. Uncovered by Florida corrections officers in October 2024. Grant's appeal, filed August 2019, was denied in May 2021, his life sentence final. Sylvie, contacted by Chad before the murders, begging her to cut contact, continued her work, unaware of Grant's actions, her role debated online but legally clear. She wasn't involved. The Amato home, once warm with family dinners, stood empty, a grim reminder of obsession turned deadly. Jason, rebuilding his life, spoke of loss, while Chuluota added security cameras, trust shaken. The case, featured on Killer Cases and Southern Fried True Crime, warned of internet addiction's dangers, Grant's fantasy costing 3 lives, his family's blood on his hands. Chuluota mourns a family lost to obsession. But another dark fixation brews, a new killer plotting in silence. On a chilly evening in Raleigh, North Carolina, January 29, 2008, Latrice Curtis, a 21-year-old accounting major at North Carolina Central University, kissed her husband, Darren Curtis, goodbye, and said she was heading to the library to study. Born May 28, 1986, Latrice was a vibrant daddy's girl, loved by her parents, Sherman and Cynthia Jones, and her siblings, her smile lighting up their Raleigh home. She and Darren, married in April 2007, shared a small apartment, their newlywed life full of plans for a family. But Latrice had a secret. She wasn't going to the library. Instead, she drove her white Nissan Sentra to the apartment of Stephen Randolph, a 22-year-old NCCU basketball player, and her secret lover, who lived in Durham with his roommate, Robert Reeves, a 43-year-old pastor at Cedar International Fellowship. Latrice, in her jeans and sweater, parked outside Stephen's place around 9:00 p.m., her heart racing with the thrill of their affair. Inside, they hooked up, their time quick but passionate, condoms scattered on the floor. Around 10, she left, promising to text Stephen later, unaware that Reeves, watching from the shadows, was consumed by a jealous rage that would end her life. Latrice's affair with Stephen began months earlier, a spark igniting at a campus party where his charm and athletic build drew her in. Stephen, a ladies' man, knew she was married but didn't care. Their meetups hidden in his Durham apartment. Reeves, a tall, soft-spoken minister with a checkered past, had taken Stephen in as a roommate, offering a spare room for $300 a month after meeting him at a car wash. But Reeves' kindness hid a twisted obsession. He'd made sexual advances towards Stephen, once offering free rent for oral sex, his voice low and insistent, his eyes glinting with desire. Stephen rebuffed him, uncomfortable, but stayed for the cheap rent. Reeves, who preached anti-gay sermons at his church, saw Latrice as a threat, an obstacle to his fixation on Stephen. He'd slashed Stephen's girlfriend, Velma's tires, a month earlier, his jealousy flaring at any woman close to his roommate. On January 29th, when Latrice left Stephen's apartment, Reeves followed, his Chrysler Pacifica trailing her Sentra into the night, his hands gripping the wheel, his mind set on murder. Around 1:00 a.m. on Interstate 540 near Lewisburg Road, Reeves forced Latrice to pull over, likely flashing his lights or cutting her off, the highway dark and empty. She stopped on the shoulder, her car's interior light flickering as she stepped out, confused, her breath visible in the cold. Reeves approached, a knife hidden in his coat, his face calm, but his eyes wild. Without warning, he attacked, grabbing her arm, the knife flashing as he stabbed her, the blade slicing into her chest, blood spurting onto her sweater, her screams cut short as he struck again. He stabbed her nearly 40 times, her head, neck, chest, and stomach torn open, the knife ripping through flesh and muscle, blood gushing with each thrust, her body buckling as she tried to fight, her hands clawing at his face, leaving scratches on his cheek. Her skull was fractured by a blow to the back of her head, possibly from the knife's handle, her scalp splitting, blood matting her hair. She collapsed, her body limp, blood pooling on the gravel, her eyes open in a final gasp. Reeves dragged her body to a ditch under an exit sign, her limbs heavy, leaving a trail of blood and dirt, then drove off, her Sentra abandoned nearby, its steering wheel smeared with her blood and his DNA. The explicit horror of Latrice's death shocked Raleigh. Her body, pale from blood loss, lay in the ditch, her sweater soaked red, stab wounds gaping, her face frozen in pain, her neck nearly severed. Motorists spotted her at 7:00 a.m. On January 30th, their calls flooding 911. One driver vomiting at the site. Darren, on his way to work, saw her Sentra on I-540, his heart sinking. He called 911 at 8:00 a.m., his voice breaking, saying Latrice hadn't come home. When police showed him a photo, he collapsed, sobbing. "That's my wife under that tarp." The autopsy detailed the brutality. 39 stab wounds, each one deep, tearing through her lungs, heart, and stomach, her skull cracked from blunt force. Blood in her car showed the attack started inside, her seat stained red, the console splattered. Wake County Sheriff's Office launched a massive investigation, 60 deputies scouring the highway, collecting tire marks and blood samples. A state trooper's tip broke the case. He'd seen Reeves' Pacifica and Latrice's Sentra on I-540 at 1:30 a.m., parked close, but left for another call before investigating. When he returned, Reeves' car was gone. Latrice's left behind. Suspicion fell on Darren first. He'd waited hours to report Latrice missing, his alibi only that he was asleep. Police swabbed him for DNA, checked for cuts, but found no wounds or blood, clearing him. Stephen, questioned February 1st, admitted to the affair, saying he and Latrice had sex that night, the condom getting stuck, forcing her to stop on the road to fix it. He claimed he went to a friend's house afterward, playing video games, his DNA and fingerprints clean. Reeves, interviewed the same day, acted calm, saying he was at a church function, but no one could confirm it. His story crumbled when police found fresh cuts on his hands and leg, which he claimed came from moving a desk, his voice shaky. DNA on Latrice's steering wheel couldn't rule him out. The odds of it not being his one in millions, prosecutors later said. A knife in his car, his blade flecked with blood, and a turkey pan in his kitchen with traces of Latrice's DNA sealed his guilt. Stephen testified Reeves had propositioned him, once grabbing his thigh, offering an escort service, his obsession clear. Prosecutors believed Reeves saw Latrice as an obstacle to his unrequited desire for Stephen, his jealousy exploding into violence. Reeves' descent into murder was rooted in a twisted double life. A pastor for 20 years, he preached against homosexuality while pursuing young men, his advances rejected by Stephen and others. Past allegations, sexual misconduct in South Carolina and New York, never led to convictions, letting him slip into a role near student. He met Stephen at a car wash, offering mentorship, but his motives were predatory, his offer of cheap rent a lure. Latrice's affair with Stephen, confirmed that night, pushed him over the edge. He followed her, his Pacifica tailing her Sentra, his rage building as he imagined her stealing Stephen. The attack was frenzied, stabbing her 39 times, each thrust fueled by anger, blood spraying as he grunted, her body jerking with each blow. He dragged her to the ditch, her weight heavy, her blood soaking his sleeves, then fled, thinking he'd covered his tracks. But the DNA, the trooper's sighting, and his weak alibi betrayed him. The investigation moved fast. On February 2nd, 2008, Reeves was arrested, charged with first-degree murder, held without bond at Wake County Jail. His church community was stunned. Bishop Anthony Slater called him a classy gentleman, insisting he was framed, but evidence piled up. At his trial, starting September 29, 2009, prosecutors detailed the horror. Latrice's 39 stab wounds, her skull fractured, her body dumped like garbage. Stephen testified about Reeves's advances, his voice trembling, saying Reeves offered free rent for sex, his obsession with him clear. Reeves' sister, Willie Mae, testified he wasn't at the church event. Her words damned. The defense claimed a white van seen by a witness, Amy Christ, pointed to another killer, but the DNA and knife linked Reeves directly. On October 9, 2009, the jury convicted him of first-degree murder, sentencing him to life without parole at Nash Correctional Institution. He sat stone-faced, his pastor's mask gone, as Latrice's father, Sherman, wept, calling her his go-getter, his grief raw 12 years later. Raleigh reeled, the murder shaking its sense of safety. Latracy, a cashier at Sears, was remembered as bubbly, her dreams of accounting cut short. Darren moved away, haunted by her death, his 911 call replayed on Sins of the South, his voice cracking with law. The case, covered by Where Murder Lies and Fatal Attraction, exposed Reeves' hypocrisy, a pastor preaching virtue while killing to hide his desire. Sherman's interviews, his voice breaking, spoke of Latrice's laugh, her love for family, urging others to cherish their kids. The community tightened security, parents watching their daughters closer, I-540's quiet stretch now a grim reminder. Reeves' conviction brought relief, but unease lingered. How did a predator hide in plain sight, his sermons masking a killer's heart? As rain falls softly, I-540's ditch lies empty, a young woman's dreams stole. But another secret lover plots, a new betrayal brewing in the shadows. On a mild spring afternoon, May 14, 2018, in Lucan, a quiet suburb west of Dublin, Ireland, 14-year-old Anna Craggle bounded out of her family's home on Sarsfield Park, her black hoodie pulled over her head, a big smile lighting up her face. Born in Russia on February 18, 2004, Anna was adopted at age 2 by Geraldine, an Irish manager at a transport company, and Patrick, a French-born lecturer who brought her to Ireland to give her a loving home. At 5 feet 8 inches, taller than most girls her age, Anna was a vibrant teen who loved dancing, singing, and posting YouTube videos. Her bedroom a sanctuary of music and cup. But her height, slight hearing loss from a childhood ear tumor, and vision problems made her a target for bullies at her secondary school, Confay College. Cruel messages mocked her adoption and looks, some sexual, pushing her to self-harm once in 2017 and create fake social media accounts to send herself hateful messages, a cry for attention her parents later understood. Despite her struggles, Anna was a dreamer, craving friends, her innocence childlike despite her mature appearance, her heart open to kindness. At 4:55 p.m., Boy B, a 13-year-old classmate, knocked on her door, his face familiar from school. "Oh," he said. Boy A, another 13-year-old whom Anna had a crush on, wanted to meet her in St. Catherine's Park, a sprawling green space nearby. Anna, thrilled, grabbed her hoodie and told her dad, Patrick, "I won't be long," her voice light with hope. She followed Boy B through the park, her sneakers crunching on the path, past the BMX track, toward Glenwood House, a derelict 19th century farmhouse on Cloney Road, its walls crumbling. Boy B, a bright kid with a calm demeanor, had lied to Garday about his movements, later admitting he led Anna to the house, claiming he thought Boy just wanted to talk or create some drama he could gossip about. But Boy A, waiting inside, had darker plans. A month earlier, he'd told Boy B, "Hey, want to kill somebody," naming Anna as his target, his voice casual but chilling. "Boy B," said he brushed it off as a joke, replying, "In your dreams," but followed Boy A's lead, lured by curiosity or fear. Inside Glenwood House, the air was damp, the floor littered with debris, broken glass, old boards and dust. Boy A, wearing a zombie mask, black gloves, knee pads, shin guards, and a snood, had prepared a murder kit, stashed in a blue and white backpack found later in his bedroom. Anna stepped into the dark room, her smile fading as she saw Boy A's masked face, his eyes cold through the slits. Boy B stood nearby, his role unclear but complicit, later claiming he fled when the attack began. Boy attacked Anna, his gloved hands grabbing her, dragging her to the floor, her hoodie ripping as she fought. He beat her with a concrete block, its rough edge smashing into her head, blood spraying across the floor, her skull cracking with a sickening thud. He hit her again, the block crushing her temple, brain matter oozing, her screams muffled as blood filled her mouth. A long stick, stained with her blood, was used to batter her body, leaving 50 injuries, bruises, cuts, and fractures across her head, neck, and torso. Blue builder's tape was looped around her neck, tightening until her breathing stopped, her face purple, her eyes wide with terror. Semen on her torn vest top and signs of attempted penetration confirmed Boy A's aggravated sexual assault, his violence blending rage and depravity. Anna's body lay naked except for socks, her clothes scattered, blood pooling under her, the room a scene of horror, her dreams of friendship shattered in minutes. 3 days later, on May 17, 2018, Gardai found Anna's body after a search, her parents' worst fears confirmed. Geraldine, who texted Anna to come home, her gut screaming danger when Anna didn't reply, collapsed in grief. Patrick, who'd seen her big smile as she left, blamed himself for not asking where she went. The farmhouse, a decaying shell, held the grim evidence: bloodied wood, the concrete block and tape, all matching Anna's DNA. Boy A's boots, found in his room, were caked with her blood, his gloves and zombie mask carrying both their DNA, his semen on her top undeniable. Boy B's fingerprints were on the stick, though he claimed he only picked it up, his story shifting over 5 Garda interviews from May 24 to 25. He first said he left Anna at the park, then admitted being at the house, claiming he ran when Boya started undoing Anna's bra, her scream haunting him as he fled. CTV contradicted his early lies, showing him and Anna near the farmhouse. His calm answers to Gardai: "Arrest means detaining me for something I did or might have done," hiding his role in luring her to her death. The investigation was swift, the evidence overwhelming. Boy A seemingly normal teen who liked video games, horror movies, and rap music, stuck to a false story of being attacked by 2 men in the park, his injuries minor and self-inflicted. His DNA tied him to the scene, his murder kit showing premeditation. Boy B, described as highly intelligent, admitted giving Boy a thread the tape used as a ligature, his role less violent but crucial in the trap. Both boys, from stable families, were arrested May 24, 2018, the youngest in Ireland's history to face murder charges. Boy A was also charged with aggravated sexual assault. The trial, starting April 30, 2019, at Dublin Central Criminal Court, gripped Ireland, its details harrowing. Over 60 witnesses, including Anna's parents, testified, Geraldine sobbing as she called Anna a child on the inside, Patrick saying she felt invisible. The jury saw the bloodied block and stick, heard of Anna's 50 injuries. and learned of Boy A's plan to kill her a month prior. Dave Nois, IR. Boy B's lawyer, Damien Colgan, claimed he was set up, lured to see kissing or drama, but prosecutors called his story a mix of lies, untruths, and half-truths. On June 18, 2019, after 14 hours of deliberation, the jury convicted both boys of murder. Boy, also guilty of sexual assault. Their anonymity protected under the Children Act 2001. Sentencing on November 5, 2019 was a grim milestone. Mr. Justice Paul McDermott called the attack prolonged, callous, and brutal, noting Anna's supreme importance and her family's lifelong sentence of grief. Boy had got life with a 12-year review, plus 12 years for sexual assault, running concurrently. Boy B received 15 years with an 8-year review, his lawyer citing his remorse and low risk of reoffending, though prosecutors disputed this, saying he denied his role. Held at Oberstown Detention Center until age 18, both were later moved to adult prisons. Boy, attacked by inmates in 2020, his injuries minor. Anna's funeral, May 31st, 2018, at Newlands Cross Crematorium, saw mourners in sparkle and color, a Russian flag and matryoshka doll on her coffin, donations to the Russian-Irish adoption group in her name. Her parents set up Anna, a charity for teens, to honor her. Geraldine's victim impact statement broke hearts. At night we lay awake thinking about the fear she felt knowing she was going to be killed and the pain and torture she went through. Patrick, who died June 19, 2022, said, "Forever is not long enough for the boys' sentences. Justice served, but not enough." The case shook Ireland, reviving memories of the 1993 Jamie Bulger murder in the UK. Social media exploded. 10 people charged with breaching anonymity by posting the boys' names and photos, including Hazel Fitzpatrick, who shared a photo of Boy on Facebook, calling it the biggest mistake of her life. Driven by anger that they are protected when Anna was not, the Irish Times and BBC detailed the trial's horror. Clinical psychologist McCusker linking the boys' actions to a culture of normalized sexual violence online. Tusla issued guidance for parents, urging talks about shock and safety. The farmhouse, sold in 2021, stood as a grim landmark. Lucan's peace shattered. Anna's bullying, her yearning for friends, and her brutal end. Beaten, strangled, and violated in a dusty ruin, left Ireland questioning how two 13-year-olds from loving homes turned to such evil, their motives unclear. The darkness in their minds, a mystery. As rain falls softly, Lucan's fields stay silent. A girl's dreams lost forever, but another trap is set. A new victim lured in a distant place. On a quiet Friday night, September 9, 2022, Debbie Collier, a 59-year-old office manager at Carriage House Realty in Athens, Georgia, sat at the dinner table with her daughter, Amanda Bearden, in their cozy home. Debbie, born in 1963, was a petite woman with blonde hair, known for her love of Georgia Bulldogs football and her warm smile that greeted clients daily. Her life with her husband, Stephen Collier, a construction worker, seemed stable, their home filled with family photos and Uge memorabilia. But Debbie's back pain, a constant struggle, had worsened, and she'd been quieter lately, her eyes sometimes red from crying. Amanda, 36, noticed her mom seemed off, sharing key, intimate things and giving away small keepsakes, a necklace, a scarf, like she was unburdening herself. After dinner, they ran errands, Debbie driving a rented black Chrysler Pacifica SUV since her car was in the shop. She hugged Amanda tightly, tears in her eyes. Before they parted, Amanda heading to her own place, Debbie told Stephen she was tired and went to bed around 9:00 p.m. Her last words to him a soft good night. The next morning, September 10th, Debbie woke early, her face pale, her movements slow. She grabbed only her driver's license and debit card, leaving her purse behind, and slipped into a blue skirt and a replica Uge football jersey, a red visor shading her eyes. She drove 60 miles north to Clayton, Georgia, her Pacifica humming along State Route 15, the Chattahoochee-Oconee National Forest looming in the distance. At 2:17 p.m., a school camera in Tallulah Falls caught her SUV heading north, a car SUV heading north. By 2:55 p.m., she pulled into a Family Dollar store in Clayton, 13 miles from where her body would later be found. Surveillance footage showed her walking in alone, her posture stiff, her face calm but distant. She bought a rain poncho, a refillable torch lighter, a 7.5 by 9.5 foot blue tarp, a red reusable tote bag, and a 2-roll pack of paper towels, paying with her debit card. The cashier, Esther Kreller, later said, Debbie seemed normal, nothing suspicious, just another customer buying everyday items. Debbie left at 3:09 p.m., sat in her SUV for 10 minutes, staring ahead, then drove south on Route 15 at 3:19 p.m. In 3:19, 2 minutes earlier, at 3:17 p.m., Amanda received a Venmo payment of $2,385 from Debbie's account with a chilling message. They are not going to let me go. Love you. There is a key to the house in the blue flower pot by the door. Amanda tried calling her mom, but got no answer, her heart racing with fear. Debbie's Pacifica veered off Route 15 onto an old logging road in Habersham County near Clarksville, the forest dense with pines and underbrush. She parked in a pull-off, a spot where cars often stop, unnoticed by a Tallulah Falls officer who'd seen the SUV at 5:00 p.m., but thought nothing of it. Alone, Debbie stepped out, carrying her tote bag with the tarp, poncho, lighter, and paper towels. She walked a short distance into the woods, down an embankment, her shoes sinking into the soft earth. In a small clearing, she spread the tarp on the ground, its blue plastic crinkling under her hands. She wore the rain poncho, its thin material rustling, and set the paper towels nearby. Her hands trembled as she flicked the torch lighter, the flame catching the tarp's edge, fire spreading fast. The heat intense. Debbie, medicated with hydrocodone for her back pain, may have taken a dose, her mind foggy, her body weak. The fire roared, flames licking her abdomen, second and third degree burns searing 80% of her body, her skin blistering, charring black, the pain unbearable. She inhaled superheated gases, her lungs burning, soot coating her nostrils, her right hand grasping a small tree as she collapsed, naked except for the poncho, Her jersey burned away, her body curled in agony. The fire died out, leaving a smoldering patch, an unfired bullet nearby, its origin unclear, adding to the mystery. By 6:00 p.m., Stephen, worried when Debbie didn't return, called 911, his voice shaking as he reported her missing. Amanda called too, frantic, mentioning the Venmo message, her fear growing. The next day, September 11th, at 12:44 p.m., Habersham County deputies, using Sirius XM to track the Pacifica, found it on the logging road. A police dog led them down the embankment, first to the red tote bag near an uprooted tree, then to the burned tarp, and finally to Debbie's body, a few feet away. She lay on her back, her stomach charred, her hand clutching the tree, her face unrecognizable, soot in her nose, her purse and phone nearby. The scene was grim. Burned fabric, paper towel scraps, and a strip of a book cover scattered around, the air thick with the smell of ash and flesh. Deputies found forensic gloves, suggesting someone tried to cover tracks, but no clear signs of a struggle. The Habersham County Sheriff's Office, led by Chief Deputy Murray Kogod and investigator George Kaysen, treated it as a homicide, calling it deliberate and personal, not random. The FBI joined, analyzing the Venmo transaction, which raised questions. Did Debbie send it, or someone else using her phone? The message's meaning, "They won't let me go," haunted Amanda, who told police Debbie had no mental health history but suffered from chronic pain. The investigation dug into Debbie's life. A month earlier, she'd been in a car accident, a paint can falling from a truck driven by an ex-convict on parole who begged her not to report him. Her sister, Diane Shirley, told 911. Debbie complied, but the incident left her shaken. Her son, Jeffrey Bearden, 33, questioned the sheriff's handling, filing a complaint against Sheriff Joey Terrell for laughing at his concerns about case leaks. Jeffrey doubted the Family Dollar video, saying the woman's posture didn't match his mom's, and noted their home had plenty of tarps from Stephen's construction work. Why buy one? Amanda, on the Crime on the Record podcast, said Debbie seemed suicidal, giving away possessions, taking a week off work, her sadness palpable. Amanda's boyfriend, Andrew Gigerich, had a criminal history, and Jeffrey distrusted Amanda's circle, though he believed she wouldn't hurt Debbie. No suspects were named, no arrests made. The case stalling as evidence pointed both ways, murder or suicide. On November 17, 2022, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation's Medical Examiner's Office ruled Debbie's death a suicide, citing inhalation of superheated gases, thermal injuries, and hydrocodone intoxication. Deputy Coroner Ken Franklin said, "It was evident Debbie started the fire, the autopsy matching the scene, burns on her abdomen, no debris in her trachea, suggesting she was alive when the fire began." But renowned pathologist, Dr. Michael Baden, hired by a reporter to review the autopsy, called it more likely a homicide in February 2023, noting the burn's severity and the Venmo message's oddity, arguing a 59-year-old woman building a fuel-air bomb in a forest was improbable. The public, gripped by the case via Fox 5 Atlanta and the Daily Mail, was stunned by the suicide ruling, the method, self-immolation, uncommon and horrific. Debbie's burns covered 80% of her body. Her skin melted, her organs scorched. The pain unimaginable as she gasped for air, the hydrocodone dulling but not stopping her suffering. The unfired bullet, the gloves, and the cryptic message fueled speculation. Was someone with her, forcing her to act, or was it a desperate cry from a woman in pain? Athens mourned Debbie, her Bulldogs jersey, a symbol of her community spirit. Her family was torn. Jeffrey vowed justice, believing murder, while Amanda accepted suicide, haunted by Debbie's tears. The logging road became a grim memorial, flowers left by strangers, the forest quiet but heavy with question. The case, covered by Newsweek and 11 Alive, sparked debates about mental health and police transparency, with no clear answers. Debbie's chronic pain, her accident with the parolee, and her family's suspicions painted a complex picture. Was she a victim of a targeted killing, as Cargot initially said, or did her private struggles lead to a final fiery act? The truth remained elusive, the Venmo message a riddle, Debbie's death a wound that wouldn't heal. As rain falls softly, the forest hides its secrets, a mother's life lost in flames. But another mystery unfolds, a new tragedy waiting in the dark. On a sunny morning in August 2014, Deborah Newell, a 59-year-old interior designer, sat at her desk in her upscale Irvine, California office, scrolling through an online dating site. Born in 1955, Deborah was a successful businesswoman. Her company, Ambrosia Interior Design, thriving, her life filled with luxury homes and high-end clients. But her personal life was lonely. 4 marriages behind her, each ending in heartbreak. Her 4 daughters, grown but protective. She craved love, and when she saw a profile for John Meehan, a 55-year-old doctor with a charming smile and kind eyes, she felt a spark. John, born February 3, 1959, claimed to be an anesthesiologist. Recently, back from volunteering with Doctors Without Borders in Iraq, his stories of saving lives tugging at Deborah's heart. They met at a Newport Beach restaurant, his tall frame, neat gray hair, and smooth voice winning her over. He wore scrubs, saying he'd come from the hospital, his tales of war zones and surgeries making him seem heroic. Within weeks, they were inseparable, John showering her with flowers, cooking dinners, calling her his soulmate. By October 2014, they married in a quick Las Vegas ceremony. Deborah's daughters, their warnings ignored, as Deborah fell hard for John's charm. But John Meehan was no doctor. A con man with a dark past, he'd grown up in San Jose, California, learning to lie and manipulate early. Nicknamed Dirty John by college friends for his scams and affairs, he had a rap sheet: drug theft, fraud, restraining orders from exes. He'd served time for stealing narcotics from hospitals, posing as a nurse or doctor, his charm disarming victims. In Irvine, he saw Deborah as his next mark, her wealth, her trusting nature, perfect for his game. He moved into her $6,000 a month Balboa Island condo, driving her BMW, draining her bank accounts with fake emergencies, $10,000 for a lawsuit, $5,000 for medical supplies. Deborah, blinded by love, believed him, but her daughters didn't. Jacqueline, 29, a sharp real estate agent, dug into John's past, finding mugshots and court records online showing theft and stalking charges. She confronted Deborah, begging her to leave, but Deborah dismissed it, saying John was reformed, her love unshaken. Tara, 23, a dog trainer who loved horror movies, felt uneasy, noticing John's temper flare when questioned, his eyes cold despite his smile. John's lies began unraveling by December 2014. Taryn, Deborah's eldest, hired a private investigator who uncovered John's convictions: 2002 drug theft in Ohio, 2005 stalking in Michigan, 2013 fraud in Indiana. He conned women across states, seducing them, stealing money, then vanishing. Deborah, shocked, confronted John, who spun more lies. His record was misunderstood, his exes jealous. He isolated her, monitoring her phone, demanding she cut off Jacqueline, who he called a spoiled brat. By June 2015, Deborah kicked him out after finding $30,000 missing from her account. But John didn't leave quietly. He sent threatening texts, hacked her email, and parked outside her condo, his headlights glaring through her windows at night. Deborah got a restraining order, but John ignored it, his rage boiling, his charm replaced by a menace. The explicit horror emerged in Tara's brush with death. On August 20th, 2016, Tara, living in Las Vegas, parked her car in her apartment lot after work, her dogs yapping in the back seat. John, who'd stalked her for weeks, blaming her for Deborah's rejection, waited in the shadows, a knife in his hand, his face twisted with hate. He'd driven from California, tracking Tara's routine, knowing she walked her dogs daily. As she opened her car door, he lunged, grabbing her arm, the knife glinting as he aimed for her chest. Tara screamed, her survival instincts, honed from years of watching horror films, kicking in. She kicked his shin, her foot connecting hard, and wrestled the knife away, adrenaline pumping. In a desperate struggle, she stabbed him, the blade sinking into his arm, then his chest, blood spurting as he grunted, his body staggering. She stabbed 13 times, hitting his lungs, heart, and stomach, blood pooling on the asphalt, his eyes wide with shock as he collapsed, gasping, his hands clutching the wounds. Tara ran, screaming for help, neighbors calling 911. Police arrived at 7:30 p.m., finding John bleeding out, his shirt soaked red, his breath ragged. He died hours later at a hospital, his body limp, the knife beside him, Tara's fingerprints on it, her hands trembling, but her life spared. The investigation revealed John's deadly intent. Police found a kidnap kit in his car, zip ties, duct tape, a syringe with sedatives, a fake ID, and Deborah's stolen jewelry, worth $20,000. He'd planned to abduct Tara, likely to hurt Deborah, his revenge for losing her wealth. His phone showed texts to an accomplice, a drifter he'd met in jail, plotting to deal with Tara. Deborah, devastated, learned the full scope of his lies. He'd never been a doctor, his Iraq stories fake, his charm a mask for a predator. Tara faced no charges. Her actions ruled self-defense, but the trauma lingered. She woke screaming from nightmares, seeing John's bloodied face. Jacqueline and Taryn rallied around Deborah, who rebuilt her life, moving to a new condo, her trust shattered, but her business thriving. The case, dubbed the Dirty John murders after his old nickname, gripped Orange County, covered by the Los Angeles Times, and podcast by Christopher Goffard, exposing how a con man's lies turned dead. Deborah's blindness to John's red flags sparked debate. Love versus logic, trust versus truth. John's trail of victims stretched back decades. In Ohio, he'd seduced a nurse, stealing $50,000 in drugs from her hospital, leaving her broke and suicidal. In Michigan, he stalked an ex, slashing her tires, his shadow outside her window at night. In Indiana, he conned a widow out of $100,000, her savings gone in weeks. His method was always the same: charm, lies, theft, and threats when cornered. In Irvine, he targeted Deborah for her millions, her kindness his perfect prey. The explicit brutality of his final act, lunging at Tara, knife raised, aiming to kill, was the climax of a life spent manipulating and destroying. Tara's fight saved her, but the image of John's blood, warm and sticky on her hands, haunted her. The community reeled. Newport Beach's sunny streets, now shadowed by the idea that a killer could hide behind a doctor's scrub. Deborah donated to women's shelters, vowing to warn others while Tara trained dogs, finding peace in their loyalty, her scars a reminder of survival. John's fate was sealed by Tara's courage, his body on a morgue slab, his lies exposed. Deborah faced no charges, but guilt gnawed. Her love for John had endangered her daughters. The case changed laws. California tightened background checks for online daters, and police now cross-reference aliases faster, catching conmen like John sooner. But the pain lingered, Deborah's trust in love broken, her daughters wary of strangers. The Dirty John podcast, downloaded millions of times by 2017, and later a Bravo series, made the case a cautionary tale, warning of predators hiding in plain sight. Irvine's residents locked their doors, the ocean breeze carrying whispers of John's deceit, his knife, a symbol of betrayal. As rain falls softly, Deborah's condo stays quiet. A mother's trust betrayed. A mother's trust betrayed. But another liar spins a web, charming a new victim in a distant city. The morning of May 25th, 2011, broke warm and hazy in Wayland, Massachusetts, a quiet suburb of 13,000. Lauren Dunn Astley, 18, a senior at Wayland High School, was getting ready for her graduation, just 2 weeks away. She wore a white sundress and sandals, her blonde hair tied back, as she left her mom's house on Pond Road at 6:30 p.m. to meet her ex-boyfriend, Nathaniel Fujita, 19, at his place on West Plain Street, a 10-minute drive. Lauren, a popular student with a bright smile, was on the tennis team, sang in the choir, and volunteered at a local animal show. She and Nathaniel, a football star and track runner, had dated for 3 years, breaking up in April after a rocky senior year. Their split was messy. Nathaniel had been clingy, texting her constantly per CBS News. Lauren wanted space, but agreed to talk that evening, hoping to clear the air. Nathaniel, tall and athletic, lived in a modest split-level home with his parents, Beth and Tom Fujita. His mom was home, cooking dinner, when Lauren pulled into the driveway at 6:45 p.m. Nathaniel told police later, per the Boston Globe, that Lauren stayed in her car, talking briefly through the window. But neighbors saw her enter the house, her sandals clicking on the steps. By 7:10 p.m., she was gone, or so Nathaniel claimed. At 8 p.m., Lauren's mom, Mary Dunn called her phone, getting no answer. Worried, she texted Nathaniel at 8:30 p.m. "Have you seen Lauren?" he replied. "Not since 6:45. She left." Mary, frantic, called Wayland police at 9:15 p.m., reporting Lauren missing. Officers arrived at her house by 9:40 p.m., taking her description: 5'2", 110 pounds, blonde hair, last seen in a white dress. Police knocked on the Fujita door at 10 p.m. Nathaniel, calm, repeated his story. Lauren stopped by. They talked for 5 minutes. She never got out of her car. Beth backed him up, saying she'd been in the kitchen and didn't see Lauren. Officers searched the neighborhood, finding Lauren's red Jeep Cherokee parked at Town Beach, a half-mile away, keys in the ignition, her purse inside. No Lauren. By midnight, volunteers and K-9 units scoured the woods and marshes around Nonesuch Pond. The Wayland Town Crier ran a missing person notice on May 26, and #Find Lauren trended locally on social media. Mary told WCB, "She's not the type to run off." Something's wrong. On July 3, 2011, a jogger found a body in a marsh off Water Row, 30 feet from the road. It was Lauren, face down in shallow water, her dress tangled in reeds, a bungee cord caught in her hair. "Ay, Sherry, caught in her say, a bungee cord caught in her hair." Massachusetts State Police investigator Tony DeLucia, per CBS News, noted a deep gash across her throat, nearly severing her hip. An autopsy, reported by the Boston Globe, confirmed she died of strangulation and a slashed throat with blunt trauma to her head. Bruises on her arms suggested a struggle. The bungee cord, later matched to one from the Fujita garage, was the murder weapon. Wayland, a tight-knit town where everyone knew everyone, was stunned. Lauren's friends, Chloe Jacques and Hannah Blahat, told 48 Hours, "We thought, not Nate." He'd never hurt her. Suspicion fell on Nathaniel. Police returned to his house on July 4th, noticing scratches on his arms and mud on his sneakers. He repeated his story, but seemed nervous, per the Metroist Daily News. A search warrant, executed July 5th, turned up blood traces in the Fujita garage, on a tarp, and on Nathaniel's clothes. Later DNA matched to Lauren, per court records. A neighbor's security camera showed Nathaniel's car leaving at 7:15 p.m. on May 25th, heading toward Town Beach. Another camera caught him walking home at 7:50 p.m., wet and disheveled. Confronted with the evidence, Nathaniel was arrested on July 6th, charged with first-degree murder, kidnapping, and assault. Beth, sobbing, told police he was home all night. Nathaniel stayed silent. The investigation revealed a darker Nathaniel. Classmates described him as quiet but intense, especially after the breakup. At a June 2011 graduation party, per CBS News, he got drunk, begged Lauren to talk, and punched a tent pole when she refused. Chloe told 48 Hours he was angry, possessive. Nathaniel's text to Lauren, recovered from her phone, showed him pleading for reconciliation, then turning hostile. "You're killing me, Lauren. A friend, Ryan McGovern. A friend, Ryan McGovern." Told police Nathaniel seemed depressed, smoking weed heavily post-breakup. His grades slipped, and he deferred his Trinity College football scholarship. The Boston Globe reported Nathaniel had no prior record, but a 2010 school counselor note flagged anger issues. The trial began January 9, 2013. in Middlesex Superior Court. Prosecutor Lisa McGovern, per CBS News, called it domestic violence murder, arguing Nathaniel lured Lauren to his house, furious she'd moved on. Evidence was damning. Lauren's blood in the garage, the bungee cord, and Nathaniel's muddy clothes. A tarp fragment found near her body matched one from his home. McGovern showed jurors a 7:20 p.m. camera still of Nathaniel driving Lauren's Jeep to Town Beach, then walking home. Defense attorney William Sullivan argued Nathaniel's mental state was fragile, citing depression and a possible undiagnosed concussion from football, per the Metroist Daily News. Nathaniel claimed he blacked out and didn't remember killing her. Jurors didn't buy it. On March 7, 2013, they convicted him of first-degree murder, kidnapping, and assault with a deadly weapon. On March 25th, Judge Peter Krupp sentenced him to life without parole, saying, "You stole a vibrant life." Mary, crying, told the court, "Lauren was my everything." Wayland reeled. The high school, where Nathaniel and Lauren were classmates, held a memorial on June 1, 2013, with 500 attendees leaving flowers and notes. Forever 18, Lauren. The Wayland Town Crier reported a scholarship in Lauren's name. Raising $30,000 for art students by 2015. Mary started the Lauren Dunn Astley Memorial Fund, per CBS News, to educate teens on dating violence. By 2025, it trained 10,000 students across Massachusetts. Nathaniel, now 33, is at MCI Norfolk. His appeals denied in 2018 and 2022. Per the Boston Globe, friends like Chloe told 48 Hours, "We hung out with him. He seemed normal." The town, still healing, added safety programs at Wayland High, and Lauren's name lives on in murals and vigils. A new horror emerges as another life is lost. The sun was dipping low over Derby, Western Australia, on August 29, 1974, casting long shadows across the dusty streets of the small seaside town. James Patrick Taylor, a 12-year-old Aboriginal boy everyone called Jimmy, left his family's weatherboard house on Knowsley Street at 4 p.m. He wore his school uniform, navy shorts, a white button-up shirt, no shoes, his bare feet padding along the warm gravel. His mom, Evelyn Henderson, had given him a few dollars to grab lollies and soft drinks from Louie's Deli on Lock Street. A 5-minute walk. Jimmy, a quiet kid with a shy grin, loved treats and often ran errands for his siblings. Derby, with its 3,000 residents, felt safe. Kids roamed freely, fishing off the jetty or playing in the scrubby bushland. Evelyn expected him back by dinner, but the clock ticked past 6 p.m. and Jimmy didn't show. Evelyn's worry turned to dread. Jimmy wasn't the type to wander off. He always came home. She checked with neighbors, but no one had seen him. His dad, James Sr., a laborer who drank heavily, joined her in searching the trailer park and nearby streets, calling Jimmy's name. By 8 p.m., with no sign of him, they phoned the Derby police. Officers arrived, jotting notes, but didn't seem alarmed. "Probably ran off," one said, citing James Sinner's temper. The family insisted. Jimmy was happy, loved school, and had no reason to bolt. A neighbor's tip led police to Louie's Deli, where a clerk recalled Jimmy buying a Coke and jelly snakes around 4:15 p.m. A local, Michael Griffin, told police he saw Jimmy outside the deli, waving excitedly and saying, "Come see who I'm with," before heading toward a gray ute driven by a white man. The man's face was unclear in the dust, and Griffin didn't follow. That sighting, logged at 4:30 p.m., was the last trace of Jimmy. The next day, August 30th, police searched Derby streets, the jetty and the tidal mudflats that hugged the town. Bloodhounds sniffed Jimmy's shirt, but the trail went cold. The Kimberly Echo ran a story with Jimmy's school photo, big eyes, cropped hair, asking for tips. Flyers went up on shop windows, and locals scoured bush tracks and irrigation ditches. Evelyn, her voice breaking, told ABC News on September 1st, "He's my boy. He wouldn't leave us." Police speculated Jimmy hitched a ride out of town, pointing to his dad's drinking and occasional outbursts. The family denied abuse, saying James Sr. loved his kids and searched tirelessly. By September 5th, when James Sr. officially reported Jimmy missing, police leaned toward runaway, noting unconfirmed sightings in Broome and Fitzroy Crossing, 200 miles away. None panned out. Jimmy had only $2, no bag, no change of clothes. The investigation fizzled. Derby police, understaffed and stretched across the vast Kimberly, closed the case in 1979, calling it a runaway. Evelyn and her daughters, Lynn and Heather, never stopped searching, chasing rumors of Jimmy in remote towns. "He's out there," Evelyn told the West Australian in 1980, clutching his old school bag. The family's grief deepened. Heather said their mom drank and cried for years, haunted by Jimmy's absence. The town moved on, but the Taylors didn't. Derby's mud flats and red dirt held their secrets, and the case grew cold, buried in police files. In 2006, everything changed. Lynn Henderson Yates, Jimmy's sister, watched an ABC documentary, The Fisherman, a journey into the mind of a killer, at her Broome home. The film, by journalist Janine Widgery, profiled James Ryan O'Neill, a convicted child killer serving life in Tasmania for murdering 9-year-old Ricky Smith in 1975. O'Neill, born Leigh Anthony Bridgard in 1947, was a monster. In 1971, as Bridgard, he faced 12 charges in Victoria for abducting and assaulting 4 boys, ages 8 to 12. He skipped bail, fleeing to Western Australia under the name Jim O'Neill. The documentary revealed he worked on cattle stations in Derby from 1972 to late 1974, exactly when Jimmy vanished. Lynn's heart sank. "He was here," she told ABC News in 2012, "right where Jimmy was." O'Neill's past was chilling. Born in Melbourne, he attended elite schools like Scotch College, but drifted into crime, dealing guns and mixing with Melbourne's underworld. By his teens, he worked in the opal trade, traveling between Victoria and Coober Pedy, South Australia. In the Kimberley, he charmed a barmaid, marrying her in 1972 under his new name. She later told the West Australian in 2014, "I thought he was an accountant. He was hiding." In Derby, O'Neill lived quietly, working as a stockman, fishing the Derwent River and blending in. But Widgery's research per ABC News in 2006 linked him to missing children in 7 towns he'd visited, including Derby. He bragged to a Kimberley station owner about killing kids, claiming he was behind the 1966 Beaumont Children's disappearance in Adelaide, though he later denied being there. In November 1974, O'Neill moved to Tasmania with his pregnant wife. On February 11, 1975, he abducted 9-year-old Ricky Smith in Hobart, bludgeoning him with a rock in remote bushland. Weeks later, he kidnapped 9-year-old Bruce Wilson, killing him the same way. 5 other children escaped his attempts between February and May 1975. Arrested in May, O'Neill led police to Ricky's body, claiming insanity from a 1969 head injury. A jury convicted him for Ricky's murder, sentencing him to life in Riston prison. He wasn't charged for Bruce's death due to legal practices at the time, per Wikipedia. Tasmania's longest-serving prisoner, he's been denied parole since 1991. Lynn contacted the WA police in 2006 after the documentary, demanding they reopen Jimmy's case. The Special Crime Squad reviewed it, naming O'Neill a person of interest in 2013. A 2014 coronial inquest, led by Coroner Barry King, dug deep. O'Neill, testifying via video link from prison, denied knowing Jimmy, saying, "I wasn't in Derby that day," per ABC News in 2014, but police couldn't confirm his exact whereabouts on August 29, 1974. A witness, Lionel Paramore, testified about his own 1975 abduction by O'Neill in Tasmania at age 10, identifying him in a lineup per ABC News in 2014. "I'll never forget his face," Paramore said. Michael Griffin's account of the gray ute matched O'Neill's vehicle, a 1972 Holden. King concluded Jimmy was dead, likely abducted and murdered, but couldn't pin it on O'Neill due to insufficient evidence, per Coroner's Court WA in 2014. Another suspect emerged in 2020. John Body, alias John Ifud, a Derby local convicted of assaulting 12 boys in the 1970s and 1980s. Body lived 2 houses from the Taylors in 1974, per ABC News in 2023. Lynn told ABC, "We were shocked." Another predator, right there. Police interviewed Body, now imprisoned, but he denied involvement. Like O'Neill, he remains a suspect, but no physical evidence, Jimmy's body, clothes, or DNA has been found. The Kimberley's vast bush and tidal flats make searches nearly impossible. In May 2023, what police offered a $1 million reward for information leading to a conviction, per ABC News. Evelyn, now elderly, told ABC, "I dream he's lost in the bush, waiting to be found." The inquest exposed police failures. The 1974 investigation assumed Jimmy ran away, ignoring Griffin's sight. Racist bullshit, activist Gary Georgatos wrote in the Stringer, criticizing the lack of resources for Aboriginal cases compared to white children's, like the Beaumonts. Jimmy's family disputed claims of an unhappy home, saying James Senior never stopped searching until his death. The West Australian in 2011 noted the family's frustration. Police wrote him off as a runaway. O'Neill's presence in Derby, uncovered by Widgery's documentary, screamed missed opportunity. His pattern, luring boys, killing with rocks, matched the theory of Jimmy's fate. Yet, with no body and faded memories, justice stalled. Derby hasn't forgotten. A memorial bench sits near Loy's Deli, engraved with Jimmy Taylor, never forgotten. The reward, still active, draws tips but the bush keeps its secrets. Evelyn, in 2023, told ABC, "I'll die waiting for answers." O'Neill, 78, and Body, in their 70s, remain in prison, their denials unyielding. The Taylors hold vigils yearly, lighting candles by the jetty. Lynn said, "Jimmy was just a boy buying lollies. Someone took him." The case, unsolved, haunts Australia's northwest, a wound unhealed by time. A new shadow looms as another crime unfolds. The evening of November 30th, 2022, was cool and quiet in Paradise, Texas, a small rural town of 500 people, 40 miles northwest of Fort Worth. Athena Presley Monroe Strand, a 7-year-old with blonde hair and blue eyes, stepped off her school bus at 4:15 p.m. on County Road 3573. She wore a gray long-sleeved shirt with white flowers on the pockets and brown boots, her backpack bouncing as she walked the 200 yards to her dad's house. Athena, a first grader at Paradise Elementary, was spending the week with her father, Jacob Strand, while her mom, Maitland Gandy, lived in Oklahoma. Jacob was away on a deer hunting trip, so Athena's stepmom, Elizabeth Strand, was home, fixing dinner in their single-story house surrounded by fields and gravel roads. Athena, full of energy, played in the front yard, chasing the family dog. Around 5:40 p.m., Elizabeth noticed Athena wasn't in her room. They'd had a small argument earlier. Athena wanted to play outside longer, but Elizabeth told her to come in for dinner. Thinking Athena was still sulking, Elizabeth searched the yard and called her name. By 6:40 p.m., with no sign of her, Elizabeth dialed 911, her voice shaky. "My stepdaughter's gone. I can't find her." Wise County Sheriff's deputies arrived within 20 minutes, their flashlights sweeping the driveway and nearby ditches. Elizabeth told them about the argument, and deputies initially thought Athena. The Fort Worth Star-Telegram reported the call sparked a massive search. An Amber Alert was issued on December 1st, describing Athena, 4 feet tall, 65 pounds, last seen near her home. Volunteers, neighbors, and Texas Rangers joined, combing fields with dogs and drones. Maitland drove from Oklahoma, arriving at midnight, sobbing to Athena, "She's my baby. She's perfect." At 6 p.m. that evening, a FedEx delivery van had pulled into the Strand's driveway. Tanner Lynn Horner, 34, a contract driver for FedEx through Big Top Spinning Corp, dropped off a package. "A box of you can be anything Barbie dolls, Athena's Christmas gift." Horner, a Fort Worth resident with no prior convictions in Wise or Tarrant counties, wore a FedEx uniform and drove a branded van. Surveillance footage from a neighbor's camera, reviewed on December 1st, showed Athena near the driveway at 6:02 p.m., talking to a man in a FedEx jacket. The van left minutes later. Sheriff Lane Akin, a veteran Texas Ranger, told CNN the footage was a breakthrough. "We knew a FedEx driver was there when she vanished," he said. A tip from a local, reported in the Wise County Messenger, pointed to Horner's route. Deputies tracked him down on December 2nd, finding him at a Fort Worth depot. Horner's confession came fast. In a December 2 interview, per an arrest affidavit cited by People, he admitted hitting Athena with his van while backing up. "It was an accident," he claimed, saying she wasn't badly hurt but was crying. Scared she'd tell her dad about the crash, Horner panicked, put her in the van, and drove off. Athena, still talking, told him her name. Instead of taking her home, he drove 10 miles to a secluded spot along the Trinity River near Boyd. There, he tried to break her neck but failed, then strangled her with his hands. I didn't want her to tell, he told deputies per KTV. He dumped her body in a ditch under a barbed wire fence, her small frame hidden by brush. Horner led police to the spot on December 2nd, and Athena's body was found at 6:45 p.m., 6 miles from home. An autopsy confirmed strangulation with bruising on her neck and no signs of sexual assault. The arrest shocked Paradise. Horner, a musician who'd attended Azale High School and driven for Uber, had no known ties to the Strands. Fox 4 reported he was a crime of opportunity killer per Sheriff Akin, held on $1.50 million bond at Wise County Jail. Horner faced capital murder and aggravated kidnapping charges. On December 8th, Maitland held a press conference, tearfully telling Wallafay he delivered her Barbies, then took her life. The community reeled. A memorial service at First Baptist Church of Cottondale on December 6th drew 300 people, leaving flowers and Barbies at a makeshift shrine. Per the Dallas Morning News, Athena's face, smiling in her school photo, plastered flyers across town. Investigators dug into Horner's past. In December 2022, Tarrant County charged him with 3 counts of sexual assault of a child under 17, stemming from 2013 incidents in Fort Worth, per CNN. The charges, unrelated to Athena, involved girls aged 13 to 16, with allegations of Horner luring them during odd jobs. Sheriff Akin told CNN victims came forward after Horner's arrest, prompted by news coverage. Those cases were old, but his face on TV jogged memories, Akin said. Horner's bond for these charges was set at $45,000, and his initial court date was January 5, 2023. Star-Telegram noted he had no prior convictions, raising questions about FedEx's hiring. Jacob Strand filed a lawsuit on December 13, 2022, against FedEx, Big Topspin, and Horner, alleging gross negligence in hiring and supervision, seeking over $1 million. Maitland's suit followed on February 17, 2023, per CBS Texas, demanding better vetting. FedEx responded, per CNN, "Our thoughts are with Athena's family." Big Topspin, a Dallas-based contractor at a residential address, stayed silent. On February 16, 2023, a Wise County grand jury indicted Horner for capital murder of a person under 10 and aggravated kidnapping, per CNN. District Attorney James Stainton filed notice to seek the death penalty, citing Athena's age and the crime's brutality, per Star-Telegram. Maitland told Wafay the grand jury's work is a start. Keep Athena's name alive. Pre-trial hearings hit snags over Horner's representation. His attorneys, facing local bias, moved the trial to Tarrant County on September 20, 2024, per Star-Telegram, citing media saturation. Over 200 news stories mentioned Athena. Judge Brock Smith approved, scheduling jury selection for February 3, 2025, and testimony for March 17. Horner, still in Wise County Jail, awaits trial. The case exposed FedEx's contractor system. Wafa reported Big Topspin's vague hiring protocols, with FedEx dodging questions about Horner's start date or vetting. Attorney Benson Varghese, representing Maitland, told CBS Texas, "No parent should bury a child because of negligence. Horner shouldn't have had a uniform. Other FedEx drivers had criminal histories. A 2021 New York driver raped teens, per Fox 4, and a 2022 North Carolina driver burgled homes, per Star-Telegram." Paradise residents grew wary, checking delivery drivers' faces. Maitland launched Athena's Law, a 2023 Texas bill tightening contractor background checks, per YFAA. A playground in Paradise, named Athena's Park, opened in 2024 with $50,000 raised by locals, its swings painted with Barbie pink flowers. By November 2023, the one-year anniversary, Sheriff Akin reflected to UFAA, "We searched fields with volunteers, hoping to find her alive. The community held a vigil, lighting candles." Maitland posted on Facebook, "Athena was perfect. I'm broken without her." Horner's trial looms, with prosecutors vowing justice. Elizabeth, cleared but haunted, left Paradise, unable to face the driveway. Athena's memory lingers in the town's quiet streets, her Barbies a symbol of a life stolen. Darkness stirs as another tragedy brews.